Hi, are you familiar with the use of gestures in nonverbal communication? Well, you probably use them on a daily basis, even without noticing. You see, gestures are any bodily movement that help describe a word, go with the word, or are words on their own, like an OK symbol. Some are vague and used for maybe describing a sentence, and others are more specific, such as like the OK symbol. Those are called emblems. The ones are the more specific. And in chapter 6 of the interpersonal communication book by Joseph A. DeVito, the author, DeVito, says this on page 129 about emblems. Emblems are substitutes for words. They're bodily movements that have rather specific verbal translations, such as the nonverbal signs for okay, peace, come here, go away, who am I, be quiet, I'm warning you, I'm tired, and it's cold. Emblems are as arbitrary as any words in a language. So you see, emblems are not like sign language, which is a language by itself, but rather they're quick phrases that we can use to describe a word or as words in a quick conversation, whether it was cultural, inside a cultural, or universal cross-culturally. And so I thought a good example of nonverbal communication, gestures, and emblems just all together was the film A Quiet Place. It's about a family that is in a post-apocalyptic world that is filled with ultra-sensitive hearing monsters. They hear the smallest sounds and they come after them. And so the family is forced to be as silent as possible and use as much nonverbal communication, including many emblems throughout the film, to do so. And I thought this was a good clip to prove what I'm talking about. So in that scene, they use sign language, but the father Lee, talking to the son Marcus, also uses emblems in describing how the river is louder than they are, and they have nothing to fear because the monsters won't hear them; they'll hear the river. So he uses emblems like "look at me" or "listen" or "calm down" when he's putting out his hands like this, things like that. And throughout the movie, it's just a great example of the effective use of these because of their lack of verbal communication. They become accustomed to using gestures, and so it was a great example. And throughout the movie, they use things like "be quiet" or "stay back." And John Krasinski, the director, this movie was published in 2018, actually says that in a Vanity Fair video where he's describing a lantern scene, he says that the performance of the kids is part of what helps us dive into the movie, helps part of what we relate to it, like see it as real. So that is a really good example. And I think a key concept to take away, a key thing to take away from this concept is that our audience broadens when we have both nonverbal communication and just verbal communication. In her presentation about emblems and illustrators, two types of gestures, emblems and illustrators, Amy Boone, she quotes the author. She quotes the author Leonardo Laudanow, and he says that nonverbal ability bestows advantages in both personal and business life, and it plays a significant role in the perception of a person's warmth, credibility, and persuasive power. The more we understand gestures, Amy Boone says after Laudanow finishes, she goes on to say, the more we understand gestures and the way they are used, the more power we have to communicate effectively when we stand up to present. So our audience broadens, and not only can we pick up on verbal communication, but all the nonverbal communication using emblems cross-culturally, crossing those boundaries, whether deaf or speak another language, in order to better communicate, we must understand emblems, and that can help us understand people as a whole. Thank you.